Welcome back to the Tool Crib. Today we're going to be looking at a 1935 Replica Zippo. This is one of the early versions or the early styles of the original Zippo lighter. So as the story goes, Mr. Blaisdell, who was the inventor and founder of Zippo lighters, he was at his local country club in Bradford, Pennsylvania, where he was visiting a friend, and his friend was using an Austrian-made lighter, but he was struggling with it. That particular lighter, you had to use two hands in order to open it. It worked well. It's just that the overall concept, the overall design of it needed to be modified to make it more user-friendly. And so using the idea of that Austrian lighter, he ended up making the lighter you see in front of us now. Basically, obviously it's a replica of what they used to make. So one of the things that he kept was the original chimney design, and that's how Zippos get that kind of windproof rating, is because the chimney protects the flame from wind and allows the lighter to stay lit even in higher winds. Now, it's not completely windproof, but it's pretty good. I mean, you can light a Zippo lighter in conditions where you can't light a normal Bic lighter, and so it's a very, very good design. At any rate, this is the 1935 Replica Zippo. Now, this one has the slashes on it. You can get it with or without the slashes. Now, the original Zippos didn't have the codes on the bottom. They didn't start doing that until the 1950s, if I'm not mistaken. So the letter was going to give you the month. In our case, the E signifies that is the 5th month, or May, and they give you the year stamp on the other side. So the original Zippos, the original 1935s, or Zippos of that era, will not have any date stamps on them. So we're gonna bring in our just a regular everyday standard Zippo, you know, the more modern style, and kind of show you some of the differences between them. So if we look at the outside first, you'll notice that obviously the original Zippo is a lot more squared off. So it has square corners, where in the Zippos of today, they have more of a contoured edges. Also, instead of, well, this particular one, because this is I'll tell you what, let me get a different Zippo out here. I'll be right back, and I'll show you the difference between what a more standard Zippo is. Well, I had to go hunt down one of my other Zippos, but the reason why is because this is an armor case, and so this one is flat bottom, where in your traditional Zippos of today, your standard Zippos, they're going to have that can bottom, so they're going to stamp the bottom, and it's going to have a little recess in here. Well, in the original 1935s, they were flat across, just like they are in the armor cases of today. So that's one of the key differences between them. Also, again, because they're squared off, has very sharp corners. Now you can tell this one here, a little bit of a fingerprint magnet. So let me get, I tell you what, let's get this lighter working. So we're gonna pull this off. Now normally what I would do is I would go through and reroute the wick on this particular lighter. Man, that little sticker does not want to come off. I guess my nails are a little too short today. So we get that case off, or excuse me, all those stickers off, and let's take a look at the inside. And let's just use our black crackle. So you can see that the chimney is pretty much the same. The only thing that's different on it is because today they use a solid rivet, where in the original 1935s or lighters of that era, they used a hollow rivet instead of a solid rivet. Other than that, it pretty much has that same iconic sound too. Maybe a little bit less defined in this one, because feels like the cam is a little different. Maybe the cams were, in fact, I want to check that out. Maybe the cams are different in these. No, they look to be the same. So I don't think the cam has changed much from the original. It was just the just the case itself. And one of the biggest differences between them is going to be in the hinge. So on a standard Zippo, you have an internal hinge with 5 pin here, or has 5-piece hinge. And on the originals, they had an outer hinge that had a 3-piece hinge. I don't know that one's stronger than the other or weaker than the other. The 5-pin makes it a little bit more, putting that hinge on the inside makes it a little bit more streamlined than what the originals were. I don't really have a problem with it. being on the outside, except that the hinge protrudes just a little bit further off the body. By putting that hinge on the inside, it makes it not quite flush, but a lot closer to flush. So let's see some of the other key differences. So we went over the hinge, we went over the flint reel. Now, again, you could get these in your little slash marks or without them. Now, this was actually the first Zippo where they really started doing advertising too. So I think there was a company that was in Bradford, Pennsylvania, and they ordered 500 lighters with their company logo on them. And that's really what started the advertising on Zippo lighters, and it's kind of what boomed their popularity. That and the combination of World War II, when all the soldiers were getting Zippo lighters out in the field, it made a huge difference in the popularity of Zippo. And it's when they really kind of took off was after the 1940s. So this particular one, boy, that attracts a lot of fingerprints. Another difference is that they're about an 1/8 inch shorter, maybe a little bit more than an 1/8 inch shorter overall than what your standard Zippo is. So you can see that, and then it has a flat top as opposed to the radius top of what our standard Zippos are today. So let me get some consumables out here. We'll get this thing working. Now, normally what I would do is I would reroute the wick in here, because Zippo doesn't normally, they don't put it in there the way that they recommend to put it in there. So I actually have a beginner's guide video on how to set up a brand new Zippo, so that you can, I'll put a link in the description below. So if you want to go check that out, kind of goes into detail about how to get started with a brand new Zippo. For today, we're just gonna put some lighter fluid in it. So let's get this one open. We're using Zippo Premium Fuel here. We'll lift up our felt pad, and we're going to put about, I don't know, about 10 seconds, about 5 seconds worth of fuel. And then we'll let that soak in for just a second. We'll put another 5 seconds. Lighter should be good to go. So if we add a little bit more fuel, and now we can set that fluid off to the side. Set this back in here. One thing I noticed, there's another difference, is that the inner case, I didn't notice that before. So on the insert for your standard Zippo today, that they give it a little break out here, and what that does is it causes more friction against the case, and so when you're putting it in, it just doesn't slip in and out. And on the older ones, that insert is straight. There's no break in there, so it really glides in smoothly as compared to the newer ones of today. We'll let that soak in for just a second. And our wick should be in a proper position. It looks pretty close, so we'll light it off, and there you go. Your 1935 Replica Zippo. It's actually a pretty cool lighter. I wish I could ever get my hands on one of the originals. That would be pretty cool, actually. But there is the 1935 Replica Zippo, and this is how it compares to our standard everyday Zippo of today. It's actually a pretty cool piece to have in the collection. My name is Ben. You've been watching Texas Tool Crib. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next one.